there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing the latest Death Stranding trailer. I'm going to be analyzing it, so let's get right into this. This trailer, like the original, starts us out looking at a lot of dead oceanic creatures. We quickly pan and see a baby in the front, and then we see a man walking down the environment and looking at a war-torn city. This is very different from the original trailer, so there's going to be a lot more to analyze here. Overhead, some planes start to fly across the screen, and if you have a close observing eye, you'll notice some tendrils are attached to them. You'll also notice there is an upside down rainbow in the sky. I'll be getting into what I think all of this means, but I just want to establish the foundation of the trailer first. Our character that is revealed to be Del Toro turns around, revealing some kind of container as well as a badge on his jacket that shows a web over the USA, with the web originating in New York. To me, this kind of confirms that he is some kind of authority in an organization protecting or overwatching America. It's interesting to note that the badge also says Bridges on it. I've slowed this next part down because I want you to pay extra attention to his facial expression. Remember a second ago that he just watched 4 planes flying over him. He then turns around and it's almost as if he sees a scene of horror. What exactly has just unfolded? You'll also note that only 1 plane seems to return after his terrified expression. That's very interesting. I have a little theory on what unfolded behind him, and I'll get into that soon. But for now, Del Toro just tries to catch his breath and we hear some tanks driving overhead. The next scene is quite peculiar indeed. I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot of questions about this, so let me get into it and hopefully I can answer all of them. So as you see, a tank comes into play, except for it has a lot of tentacles and other things attached to it. You can also take note that it seems like a skeleton's hand is attached to the side of the tank. The vehicles we see have also seemed to be from the World War II era, which is showing a chronological mismatch. The character in the first trailer had time equations on their neck, as well as floating people in the sky, and this trailer has also had a character with some kind of futuristic container. I'll be getting into this soon as the trailer releases some heavy context clues on what that could be, and I'm sure you guys will agree. The one thing that seems confirmed here is that everything in this universe is connected by some kind of cord. I'll discuss the importance of this cord a little bit later, but it even seems mechanical creations are also able to be connected to it. I think that's important because it probably implies that there is some elaborate scientific explanation for all of this. Another thing to note is that as one of the tendrils falls off the tank, a bunch of black oil seems to drip out of the side as well. As we move on, we can also see there is a strand coming out of the back of the tank, as well as aircraft in the background and another rainbow that is upside down. We have some World War II military soldiers, and this is where things get really interesting. If you actually pay close attention, you will notice that they are just skeletons. The next scene is quite fascinating. Our character is just sat there and it looks like he's just taking in the situation and what he's doing and what the world has become. You almost get a sense that he's connected to this world, but he's shocked about the events that have unfolded. It's also worth noting here the character in this trailer has a pair of handcuffs attached to his right arm with the other cuff empty. Now if you actually look at the first trailer, our main character has a pair of cuffs attached to his left arm with the other pair missing, and this looks like the exact same pair of handcuffs. I think it's quite likely that these two characters were actually chained to each other. Take note that this character also has some kind of artificial umbilical cord, whereas every other one we've seen seems to be biological, and then the scene continues with the water rising up to our character's ankles. A lot of people think the water has been oversaturated with oil, which has resulted in the death of the ocean, but let me get into that later. The next scene is one of the most fascinating overall. The character plugs into the little artificial container and reveals a baby inside, which awakes to consciousness as soon as the plug is entered and attached. It seems like our character had to plug into this device in response to the oil, so take a note of that also. It almost did seem like a last-ditch effort. This transition seems to imply that there is a conscious link between the baby and our character, as if the umbilical cord that is artificial that has been attached in there has allowed them some kind of shared consciousness. After this, a doll appears that has the same scar from the character in the first trailer. This implies some kind of link between this doll and the first character that was revealed, and I'll be getting into that later again. I keep saying that, guys, but I just want to say I want to cover all of the foundation, and then I'm going to give my perception, and I'll let you guys decide what you think. We get another implication that there is a shared consciousness between the two characters, and it looks like the baby is unable to open its left eye. There seems to be a connection with this later in the trailer, and I'll go back to that. But for now, our character just contemplates the situation and going into the tunnel, and we see the doll floating down. Now the doll starts to flash with some red light, and this is kind of confusing. I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of that is or what the implication is. However, when it's passing the walls, you will notice that there is some black footprints on the walls once again. It's only there for a split second, so I'll be taking a screenshot of it so you guys can see it, but look at the left and right sides of the wall. They appear on both sides. This is reminiscent of the first trailer, if you remember, with the black footprints walking over the protagonist. However, when the character was looking in the tunnel in the first place, you will notice that there were no footprints. Again, I'm not sure what the implication of this is. It's almost as if the monster has some kind of proximity radius around the doll that it's allowed to travel. Could this imply the doll has some kind of supernatural entity that's tied to it? There's no way to be sure, but also pay attention to the base of the water and you will notice lots of tendrils going down the tunnel to where a figure seems to be appearing in the shadows. It also seemed like earlier a tendril pulled the baby doll into the tunnel as well, which led our character to follow it. The last scene has the red shadow figure finally reveal themselves, but this is absolutely crazy. 4 skeleton soldiers appear beside him, and multiple sources seem to speculate that these are USA airborne troopers from World War II. They have weapons and uniforms very reminiscent of World War II, as well as an engraving onto their helmet that seems to signify so, and they are attached to the soldier in the background via some kind of cord or rope or strand like we have seen before. The soldier in the background has a very modern outfit, weaponry and night vision goggles, which is completely out of place here. I think everybody can assert that the ropes attached to these soldiers is some form of mind control or domination mixed in with the resurrection to be able to control and dictate what these troops do. The main character is covered in the same oily substance we have seen polluting the waters. When they take their night vision goggles off, they seem to vaporize and disappear. It's some kind of futuristic technology that seems to fit in place with the artificial chamber holding the baby earlier, as well as the cuffs that have some form of LED light. The fact that there are World War II soldiers as well mixed in with all of this technology, as well as the tanks and older style planes, seems to show that there is some kind of time dilution occurring. And it seems like the title Death Stranded might be taken a little bit more literally, as if death itself has been stranded and is unable to play out. If you remember the creatures in the oceans, none of them were rotting. Now, it didn't seem like they had life, but it didn't seem like they were able to properly die and rot either. It's almost as if the cycle of life has been stopped. Could this be the reason the babies are so sought after? Because the cycle of life has been stopped and babies aren't able to be produced anymore, but these few are special? Maybe there is some kind of plot to that. I know this is kind of stretching a little far, but consider that if the life cycle has been stopped, if there is a possibility there are males and females that can still produce, whatever organization or individuals who are responsible for stopping humanity from being able to breed would probably be trying to eliminate them and remove these babies from existence, which could show why both characters that had them were holding them so dearly. The baby doll floats over to our soldier character, and it's flickering with its eyes, struggling to open them, which is similar to the baby from before if you remember. And then when it touches the soldier, it is able to open its right eye while being unable to open its left eye, which is again reminiscent of that baby. I do believe that means that both of these are connected together, as well as the scar on the stomach connecting it to the character from the first trailer, which in my opinion Kojima is putting this doll in here so that we can establish the characters in both of these trailers are all connected to each other in the same storyline. And if you remember the fact that biological creatures are not the only things that can be controlled by these tendrils, and the baby doll did have a tendril attached to it, I think it's possible the baby in the small container is sharing a consciousness with the baby in the doll, and maybe these ropes allow things to share a consciousness and life force together, and even a perception. With our Del Toro character connecting into the baby, maybe he he can also share that perception and gain strategical data, which would fit up with our soldier character connecting to the World War II troopers, as well as the fact that the doll is alive and able to perceive the environment and move, which lines up with the planes and the tanks also having tendrils attached to them, allowing them autonomous control. If you want any more proof that these objects and strands that are attached to them have an ability to share the consciousness and perception of individuals, look at the reaction of our soldier's face after the doll touches him. It's almost as if he has found what he has been searching for the entire time, like he just gained a large burst of knowledge. There are a few minor details I missed out here intentionally, such as the ropes detracting from the soldiers with a red glow appearing from them as if they were given an order. It's interesting that the ropes did detract from the soldiers, but I really can't speculate the purpose of that, so I thought it was a little bit useless. But we have already explored the theme of mind control in here, so I think it wouldn't really add to the argument, but it's just a little bit more proof if you wish for it. The last detail I do want to share, however, is that there is a compass on the soldier that seems to be going a little haywire. A compass is attracted to the magnetic poles of a planet, which could imply that the abilities that these people are using have a lot of magnetic interference, as when the ability seems to end, the compass seems to rest still. Now, a lot of people seem to think this game's going to be a biblical game. There does seem to be references to Adam and Eve if we're talking about the ability to reproduce, as well as the figures in the sky, the poem that was quoted at the start of the first trailer. I can understand why people went that route, but look at Kojima's past games. There are so many biblical, religious, and spiritual references that end up having a very logical and scientific explanation. Kojima loves showing us things that seem to be out of control and where there is no logical explanation that one could come to give the person the powers they have. For example, you see the flying people in the sky. You wonder how could somebody do that? But remember back to Metal Gear Solid 2 when we had the witch who could actually avoid bullets and deflected them around her, or Psycho Mantis that could literally read your mind. But in the end, these all had logical and scientific explanations. I honestly think it's possible this is some alternate future timeline where humanity was at a long resource war, and because of the dwindling population and inability for fuel, some form of alternate technology and energy source was derived which allowed people to control the dead, as well as fuel and control aircraft, tanks, and other vehicles. The people who have the artificial cords that give them the power to dominate the other life forms would be seen as very powerful individuals after all, and this could line up with why our first character had his stomach cut out. Maybe they were severing his ability to connect with others, to control others, and to gain the perception from others. Something I didn't mention is our second character had a giant scar around their head, which could have been some form of experimentation to do the same. These two characters seem to be cuffed together. I almost get the feeling they were brothers in arms. It almost looks like the two characters in the trailer we saw were cuffed together and got teleported to two different places, and for some reason the cuffs remained. However, our first character lost his clothes while the second character kept them. Although the cuffs themselves could just be some symbology to deepen the connection they have between them, considering they are on opposite arms to each other. Our main character might have been seeking revengeance and trying to rescue the baby from the characters in the sky, and this could honestly be some sort of sci-fi apocalyptic scenario where the cycle of life and death has ceased to continue and the dead are subjugated by powerful individuals. But that's just a theory. All we have are two loosely connected trailers with a lot of cryptic information. The last theory I want to present to you is that the character in the second trailer is actually the character from the first trailer. I don't want to make this video too long as it could go on for 30 to 40 minutes if I did, so let me just show you guys another trailer that was released. It's the same trailer as the second one, but it had a song put over it. Now this is official and apparently the song has a meaning. I'll put it in the description for you guys to listen to and let me know what you think in the comments about that. Thank you for watching the entire video. I hope you've been entertained and educated and gotten a new perspective. That's what I'm here to give. So if you have, awesome. Take it easy for now. Have a beautiful day and peace.